Shadows of discontent. The morning light streamed through the thin curtains of Monica's small, cluttered living room, casting stripes of sunlight across the worn hardwood floor. At 75, Monica had lived through a lifetime of memories, joys, and sorrows, but today felt heavier than most. She scrubbed the floor on her hands and knees, her aging body protesting against the effort. The scent of the disinfectant mixed with the mustiness of the old house, creating a familiar yet oppressive atmosphere. "Mom, I want this place spotless by the time my guests arrive." Emily's voice sliced through the air like a knife, sharp and demanding. Monica looked up, meeting her daughter's gaze with a tired smile. But inside, her heart sank. Emily, her youngest daughter, had grown increasingly impatient and demanding over the years. "I'm almost done, dear," she replied, her voice steady but tinged with exhaustion. Emily's phone buzzed incessantly, breaking the momentary calm. With a roll of her eyes, she answered, her demeanor shifting from motherly concern to irritation. Monica continued cleaning, each scrub of the floor a reminder of her fading strength and the relentless demands of her daughter. "Mike, what do you want?" Emily muttered, her voice low as she moved away slightly, trying to shield her mother from the conversation. Monica, absorbed in her chore, remained blissfully unaware of the call. "I want to talk to Mom. Is she awake?" Mike's voice came through the line, warm but strained with longing. Emily grimaced, irritation bubbling beneath the surface. "No, she's not awake yet. I'm just preparing tea to take to her room." The words dripped with resentment, each syllable carefully controlled to mask her agitation. "All right, don't wake her up. I'll call later," Mike said softly, the weariness evident in his tone. Emily hung up abruptly, dismissing her brother without a goodbye. She didn't want to hear Mike's voice today, especially not when she was preparing for the evening's gathering, a party that she had orchestrated to impress her new boyfriend. Back at the office, Mike stared at the mountain of paperwork in front of him, his mind half focused on his job and half wrestling with the urge to reach out to their mother. The endless calls from clients and the weight of legal obligations felt trivial compared to the concern that weighed on his heart. As he adjusted his tie, Lucy, his secretary, knocked gently and opened the door. "Mr. Mike, your first client is already in the waiting room," she announced, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in Mike's mind. "Thank you, Lucy," he replied, pulling himself together. He tidied his desk with methodical precision, trying to push aside the worry that gnawed at him. Each item he organized felt like an attempt to control his chaotic thoughts about his mother and the relationship that had been strained for too long. The door opened, and a frail older man stepped in, a look of despair etched across his face. Mike felt a rush of empathy. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson. Please, have a seat," he said, motioning towards the chair. The man introduced himself, his voice shaky, as he began to share the harrowing tale of being defrauded. As Mike listened, he felt a sense of purpose, the weight of the man's story resonating with his own worries about family. "I'm so sorry to hear that, Mr. Thompson. I promise I will do everything I can to help you," he said with conviction, realizing how deeply this moment connected with his unresolved feelings about his mother. Meanwhile, back at home, Emily's impatience grew. "Mom, why haven't you washed the dishes yet? You need to hurry. There's still so much to do before tonight." Monica felt the sting of her daughter's words as she trudged to the kitchen, her hands aching from the earlier scrubbing. Emily's treatment of her felt more like that of a frustrated manager berating a reluctant employee than that of a loving daughter. Monica had poured her life into raising her children, dedicating every ounce of love and energy to create a nurturing environment. The relationship they had once shared had become a battleground of demands and disappointments. As the morning turned into afternoon, Monica's heart felt heavy with the burden of Emily's disdain. She longed for the tenderness that had once characterized their bond, but it seemed to have slipped away, replaced by a chasm of unmet expectations and frustration. Emily didn't miss a beat as she continued to delegate tasks, her own personal to-do list overshadowing any sense of empathy for her mother's exhaustion. "Oh, and by the way, you're not allowed to leave your room tonight," she announced casually. "My new boyfriend is coming over, and I don't want him to see you. Just stay out of sight, okay?" Monica felt the air leave her lungs. The words were like a physical blow, and she stood frozen in place, grappling with a mix of emotions: hurt, anger, and a profound sense of isolation. "Emily, I just want to be part of your life. I've always been here for you," she tried to protest, but her voice was barely a whisper. Emily waved her hand dismissively, already absorbed in her phone, scrolling through social media, planning her evening. "Just do as I say, Mom. I don't have time for this," she said without looking up, her words striking Monica like a cold wind. Retreating to her room, Monica felt tears pricking at her eyes. She had always envisioned her golden years as a time of rest and joy, surrounded by her family. Instead, she felt like a ghost in her own home, a specter haunting the memories of love and warmth that seemed so distant now. In the heart of the city, Mike pushed through a series of meetings, his mind flitting back to his conversation with Emily. He felt an overwhelming urge to reach out to his mother again, to check on her well-being. As the clock ticked away, he finally managed to carve out a moment to call her once more. "Please, pick up," he murmured, anxiously tapping his foot as he waited for her to answer. But the phone rang and rang, going to voicemail each time. A sense of dread settled in his stomach, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Emily, on the other hand, continued her preparations for the evening. She meticulously arranged the living room, her excitement overshadowing any concern for her mother. She wanted everything to be perfect, to showcase her life in a way that would impress her new boyfriend, a man she believed was far too good for her family. As Monica sat quietly in her room, she reflected on the years gone by, the sacrifices she had made, the love she had poured into her children, and the inevitable changes that had turned their home into a place of tension and sorrow. She missed the days when laughter filled the rooms, and when her children would come to her for advice, comfort, or simply to share a moment of joy. The evening approached, and as Emily prepared for her guests, the atmosphere in the house grew tense. Monica sat in her dimly lit room, a book lying unopened on her lap, the weight of isolation settling around her like a heavy blanket. Tonight, as the laughter of Emily and her friends echoed through the walls, she felt like a prisoner in her own home, her spirit shackled by the very person she had nurtured. Little did she know that the storm was about to break, and a force would soon arrive that would change everything. The unexpected visitor. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the vibrant sounds of laughter and chatter filled the small home. Emily stood in the kitchen, anxiously stirring a pot of pasta sauce while glancing at her phone, checking for updates from her friends. The aroma of garlic and tomatoes wafted through the air, mingling with the fragrance of freshly baked bread cooling on the counter. The party was set to start in just a few minutes. Emily had been planning this gathering for weeks, wanting everything to be perfect for Daniel, her new boyfriend. He was charming and successful, and she felt an intense desire to impress him, to show off the life she had curated. She had tidied up every corner of the house, hoping to present a facade of a happy family, one that had come together and thrived. "Mom, can you come here for a second?" Emily called out, her voice cutting through the laughter of her friends who had just arrived. Monica, sitting in her dimly lit room, flinched at the sound. The call was a familiar one that often preceded an uncomfortable interaction. Taking a deep breath, she rose from her chair, smoothing the wrinkles in her faded blouse. Every step felt heavy, burdened by the weight of unspoken words and strained relationships. She opened her door and stepped into the vibrant chaos of the living room, where Emily's friends filled the space, chatting animatedly and helping themselves to drinks. The moment Monica appeared, the laughter subsided, replaced by a hushed silence as several pairs of eyes turned toward her. The contrast between her faded presence and the bright energy of the gathering felt stark. Monica's heart raced as she took in the scene. Emily, radiant in her stylish outfit, looked like a different person in the company of her peers, exuding confidence and poise that her mother could only admire from a distance. "Wow, Mom, you look like you've been cleaning," Emily remarked, the forced cheer in her voice ringing hollow. The laughter that erupted from her friends felt sharp and stinging, like a physical blow. Monica's cheeks flushed a deep crimson, and she offered a weak smile, trying to maintain her dignity. "I was just helping with the chores, dear," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Great. Well, why don't you head back to your room? We'll take care of everything here," Emily said, her tone casual, as though this was a routine suggestion. She turned away, returning to her friends, who resumed their lively chatter, leaving Monica standing awkwardly in the doorway, feeling more like an intruder than a mother. Crushed by the dismissive treatment, Monica retreated to her sanctuary, closing the door softly behind her. The laughter faded into muffled echoes as she leaned against the door, her heart heavy with the weight of isolation. She wanted to call out to Emily, to express her yearning for connection, but the words lodged in her throat. It was as if she had become invisible, a mere shadow in the life she had once actively nurtured. In the solitude of her room, Monica reflected on her relationship with Emily. Once, they had shared stories and secrets, laughter echoing through the halls. But over the years, it seemed that every effort to reach out had only driven a wedge between them. Now it felt as though Emily viewed her more as an obligation than a beloved mother. Just as she sank into her thoughts, the doorbell rang, breaking through her reverie. Emily rushed to the front door, her excitement palpable. "That must be Daniel," she exclaimed, her face lighting up with joy. Monica watched from her room, feeling an odd mix of happiness for her daughter and deep-seated sadness for herself. With each passing second, the sounds of the party intensified, and Monica couldn't help but wish she could be a part of it. She fought against the overwhelming sense of isolation, reminding herself that her daughter was just living her life. Still, it felt like she was being pushed further away from the heart of the family she had cherished. Emily flung the door open, revealing Daniel standing there, tall and confident, a wide smile on his face. "Hey, sorry I'm late," he said, stepping inside with an easy charm that immediately captivated the room. "Wow, it looks fantastic in here." As they exchanged pleasantries, Monica remained a silent observer, feeling the divide between them grow even wider. Daniel greeted her politely, offering a warm smile, but Emily quickly ushered him further into the living room, eager to show him the spread of food and drinks she had prepared. As the night wore on, Monica could hear the bursts of laughter and music spilling from the living room. She paced in her room, fighting against her longing to join them. She wanted to share in the joy, to bask in the warmth of family and friends, yet she felt an invisible barrier holding her back. A part of her wanted to knock on the door, to seek a moment of connection with Emily, but the fear of rejection kept her frozen in place. Would her daughter even want to see her, or would she be met with the same dismissive attitude? The uncertainty gripped her, and she resigned herself to the solitude of her room, closing her eyes as tears pooled in the corners. Meanwhile, the party continued in full swing. Emily reveled in the attention of her friends and Daniel, who seemed to hang on her every word. The night was everything she had hoped for, a chance to show off her life and impress her boyfriend. She led the group in laughter, sharing stories and anecdotes, all the while knowing her mother was tucked away, missing the warmth of family bonds. At one point, Daniel leaned in closer, his voice low as he teased, "So, where's your mom? Is she hiding away to avoid my charm?" The comment drew laughter from Emily's friends, but a pang of guilt shot through her. She wanted to laugh along, but the thought of Monica alone in her room brought a flicker of discomfort. "Yeah, she's just a little shy," Emily said, her voice faltering. "I told her to stay in her room for the night." "Really? That seems a bit harsh. I mean, it's your mom." She should be part of the fun, Daniel replied, genuinely surprised. I know, but it's complicated, Emily said, waving her hand dismissively, trying to shake off the guilt that threatened to consume her. Let's just enjoy the night. But as the party continued, a storm was brewing just outside their home. A gust of wind howled through the trees, shaking the branches and rustling the leaves. It felt like an omen, a sign that change was coming, though neither Monica nor Emily could see it yet. Back in her room, Monica felt the darkness outside match the heaviness in her heart. She sat by the window, watching as the shadows danced against the walls, longing for connection. The laughter from the party reached her ears like a siren's call, a reminder of what she was missing. Suddenly, there was a knock at her door, causing her to jump. Mom. It was Emily's voice, hesitant and soft. Monica's heart raced. Could this be the moment of connection she had yearned for? Yes, dear, she replied, forcing her voice to remain steady. Can I come in? Emily asked, and Monica's breath caught in her throat. She hesitated, uncertainty gnawing at her. Would this be a moment of reconciliation or another dismissal? Of course, she finally managed to say, her heart pounding in anticipation. Emily entered, her face a mix of determination and uncertainty. I just wanted to check on you, she said, her voice quieter than usual. I didn't mean to shut you out tonight. I just wanted everything to be perfect. Monica felt a flicker of hope. I understand, sweetheart. I miss you, she said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. I miss us. Emily's eyes softened, and for a moment, it seemed the barrier between them might dissolve. I miss us too, Mom, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I just thought I was doing what you wanted, keeping you out of the spotlight. You always told me to focus on my life and my happiness. Emily, my happiness is wrapped up in you, Monica said, her voice shaking with emotion. I want to be a part of your life. I want you to feel you can come to me, no matter what. In that moment, the weight of years of misunderstandings began to lift, and the darkness outside seemed to recede slightly, hinting at the possibility of healing. But just as hope began to blossom, the door swung open unexpectedly. The unexpected visitor, Mike, stood there, surprise etched across his face. What's going on? He asked, glancing between the two women. His presence brought a rush of relief and a new energy to the room. Just a moment of mother-daughter bonding, Emily said, her voice tinged with a hint of defensiveness, but it was clear she was grateful for Mike's arrival. I just wanted to check in on you guys, Mike said, stepping further into the room. I've been worried about both of you. Monica felt a wave of warmth wash over her. Mike's concern was a balm to her aching heart, and she was suddenly grateful for his presence. We were just talking about us, she said, looking from Mike to Emily, her heart swelling with a mix of love and hope. Us. Mike raised an eyebrow, sensing the weight of the moment. Is there something I can help with? I think we need to talk more as a family, Emily said, her voice steadying. I don't want to shut you both out anymore. As they settled into a small circle, the three of them began to share their feelings. Years of longing, misunderstanding, and love that had been buried under resentment and expectations. They spoke of their individual struggles, the weight of expectations, and the desire for connection. And as they talked, the winds outside howled with renewed fervor, as if echoing the tempest of emotions inside the room. But within that storm, a new sense of understanding began to take root, offering the promise of healing. In that moment, Monica felt the light of hope pierce through the darkness that had shrouded their lives for too long. The bond they had once shared was not lost. It was merely waiting for them to find it again. And as they shared their vulnerabilities and aspirations, Monica realized that the unexpected visitor had been the catalyst they all needed, a reminder that family bonds, even when frayed, could be mended with love, patience, and honest conversation. The night wore on, but the laughter and music from the party now seemed to weave harmoniously with the intimate discussions taking place in Monica's room. They were still family, and perhaps, just perhaps, they could find their way back to each other again. The storm outside raged, but inside, there was a budding warmth, a flicker of hope illuminating the path to reconciliation. Unraveling truths. The storm raged on outside, a cacophony of wind and rain that echoed the tumult of emotions inside Monica's room. The initial awkwardness of their shared moment had melted away, replaced by a sense of vulnerability that allowed the three of them to truly connect. As the night deepened, the warmth of the room felt like a cocoon, shielding them from the outside world. "I never realized how much I needed this," Monica said, her voice trembling slightly as she glanced at Mike and Emily. "I've been feeling so alone, even when I'm surrounded by people. I thought I was being strong by keeping my distance, but all I really wanted was to be with you." Mike nodded, his expression softening as he glanced at his sister. "We've all been caught up in our own worlds. I've been so focused on work and my cases that I haven't taken the time to check in on either of you. I should have reached out more too." Emily looked at her brother, a hint of guilt flickering across her face. "I guess I thought if I kept my distance, it would be easier for everyone. But it's not working. I feel like I'm drifting further away from both of you." "You don't have to do this alone," Mike reassured her, his tone earnest. "We're a family, and that means we should be here for one another, especially when times are tough." Monica took a deep breath, feeling the pressure of her own emotions bubbling to the surface. "I've been feeling like I'm just a burden," she admitted. "I never wanted you both to feel that way. I'm sorry for being so quiet. I just thought that maybe you were better off without me." Emily shook her head vehemently, her eyes welling with tears. "Mom, you're not a burden. You've always been the heart of this family. I was just so caught up in my own life that I didn't realize how much I missed having you around." The honesty in Emily's voice pierced through Monica's heart, igniting a flicker of hope. "I've missed you both so much. I just want us to be a family again," she said, her voice breaking. "I want to be a part of your lives, not just an afterthought." "I promise we'll make time for each other," Mike said, placing a reassuring hand on his mother's shoulder. "We can figure this out together. We'll have regular family dinners, game nights, anything to keep us connected." As the words hung in the air, a sense of resolve formed among the three of them. They were determined to rebuild the bridges that had been burned and mend the rifts that had formed over the years. The storm outside continued its wrath, but inside, the warmth of connection was beginning to bloom. "I think I need to do some soul-searching," Monica said, wiping away tears. "I want to be the mother you both deserve. I've lost myself in the process of trying to be strong for you." Mike smiled gently. "It's okay to take time for yourself. We're here to support you. Just promise you won't isolate yourself again." "I promise," Monica replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I want to be open and honest with both of you, even if it's hard." "Good," Emily said, wiping her own tears away. "And maybe we can find a way to have fun while we're at it. Life shouldn't just be about obligations." "Absolutely," Mike agreed. "We can make new memories and experiences together. I want to know what you're passionate about, Mom. What brings you joy?" Monica considered the question, her mind racing through the years of raising children and meeting obligations. "I used to love gardening," she admitted shyly. "It was my escape. I found so much joy in nurturing plants and watching them grow." "Then let's start there," Emily said excitedly. "We can turn part of the backyard into a garden again. It'll be a fun project for us to do together." "Really? You'd want to do that?" Monica asked, her eyes lighting up with a flicker of hope. "Absolutely," Emily said, her enthusiasm contagious. "It'll be a way for us to bond and spend time together. Plus, it's good for the soul." The three of them began to brainstorm ideas for the garden, discussing flowers, vegetables, and herbs they could plant. The energy shifted from heavy contemplation to creative excitement, filling the room with laughter and dreams. They sketched ideas on scraps of paper, each suggestion sparking new enthusiasm. In the midst of their brainstorming, Mike's phone buzzed, pulling him momentarily from the conversation. He glanced at the screen, realizing it was an urgent message from a client. "I need to take this call. I'll be right back," he said, stepping out of the room. As soon as he left, Emily turned to Monica, her expression serious. "Mom, I really want to apologize for how I've treated you. I've let my own frustrations cloud my judgment. You don't deserve any of it." Monica shook her head. "You were under a lot of pressure too. I see that now. We're all just trying to navigate this complex world. I'm sorry for not being there for you when you needed me." Emily's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she took her mother's hands in hers. "Let's promise each other that we'll communicate better. No more shutting each other out. We need to be a team." "I promise," Monica replied, squeezing her daughter's hands tightly. "We'll be a team." A moment of silence passed between them, the kind that felt both comfortable and significant. It was a moment of mutual understanding and a realization that they could rewrite their story, one filled with compassion and support. Just then, Mike re-entered the room, his brow furrowed with concern. "Sorry about that. I'll be a few minutes more with this client. Is everything okay?" "Everything's more than okay," Emily said, her voice bright. "We're making plans for the garden." Mike's face broke into a smile, the tension from the call fading away. "That sounds great. I'll join you as soon as I can. I want to be involved." As he exited again, Monica felt the warmth of hope settle in her chest. It was a beautiful moment, one that reminded her of the power of vulnerability and connection. Each conversation was a step toward healing, toward rebuilding what had been lost over the years. As the night stretched on, they continued to share ideas for the garden, laughter filling the space. It felt liberating to focus on something tangible and positive, a reminder that they could create beauty together. Eventually, they decided on a mix of colorful flowers and vegetables. "Let's plant some sunflowers," Emily exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. "They'll be so bright and cheerful." Monica couldn't help but smile. "And how about tomatoes? I used to love making fresh salsa from our garden harvest." "Yes," Emily agreed. "We'll have fresh salsa for our family dinners." As they mapped out the garden layout, the storm outside began to calm, the howling winds replaced by a gentle patter of rain against the window. It was as if nature was echoing their newfound sense of hope, the promise of renewal and growth after the tempest. At long last, they wrapped up their plans, the atmosphere lighter and filled with excitement. Monica felt a rush of gratitude for this moment, for the opportunity to reconnect with her children. They had opened a door to a new chapter in their relationship, one where honesty, communication, and love would take center stage. In that moment, she knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges to face and feelings to navigate. But with her children by her side, she felt emboldened to tackle whatever came their way. They had each other, and that was the foundation upon which they could rebuild their family bond. As the clock ticked on, the laughter and joy radiating from the room stood in stark contrast to the dark storm clouds that had once loomed outside. Monica felt a sense of peace wash over her, knowing they were embarking on a journey of healing together. With the garden as their shared goal, they were ready to face the future, not just as a mother and her children, but as a family once again, united by love and a commitment to nurture their relationships. It was a beautiful beginning, one that would lead to growth, understanding, and perhaps even a deeper appreciation of each other as they turned over new soil together. The Garden of Reconnection. As dawn broke the following day, the first light of morning filtered through the curtains in Monica's bedroom. She stirred awake, feeling a sense of tranquility that had eluded her for so long. The events of the previous night replayed in her mind like a cherished melody, a gentle reminder of the promise to reconnect with her children. The memory of laughter and shared dreams hung in the air like the faint scent of blooming flowers. Monica rose from her bed and shuffled to the kitchen, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She poured herself a cup of tea, savoring the warmth that enveloped her hands. The house was quiet, but there was a palpable sense of anticipation in the atmosphere. Today, they would start turning their plans for the garden into reality. While she waited for her children to wake, Monica glanced out the window at the backyard, which had been neglected for far too long. It was overgrown with weeds, the remnants of last season's flowers long gone. A sense of longing washed over her as she imagined the vibrant blooms and fresh vegetables that would soon grace that space, a symbol of their renewed bond. The door creaked open, and Emily shuffled in, her hair tousled from sleep. "Morning, Mom," she said with a yawn, rubbing her eyes. "Are we really going to start the garden today?" Monica smiled, her heart swelling with excitement. "Absolutely. I thought we could have a hearty breakfast first, and then get to work. What do you say?" Emily's face brightened at the prospect of a shared meal. "Sounds great. I can help with breakfast." She moved toward the fridge, rummaging for eggs and vegetables. As they prepared breakfast together, the kitchen soon filled with the aroma of sizzling eggs and freshly cut vegetables. The simple act of cooking side by side brought back memories of their family meals, times filled with warmth, laughter, and love. Monica could feel the tension that had once hung over them dissipating like mist in the morning sun. Just as they finished setting the table, Mike walked in, still dressed in his pajamas. "Good morning, you two. Is breakfast ready?" He inhaled deeply, his eyes lighting up. "It smells fantastic. Join us. We're making a feast," Emily replied with a playful grin. As they sat down to eat, the mood was buoyant. They shared stories from their lives, from Mike's recent cases to Emily's struggles with work and relationships. With each shared laugh and exchange, Monica felt the walls that had been built over the years crumbling, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and warmth. "I can't believe we've been so distant," Mike said, putting down his fork. "This is what we've been missing, a connection as a family. We need to make it a priority, even when life gets busy." "I agree," Monica said, her heart full. "We can't let the world pull us apart again. We're stronger together." After breakfast, they cleared the table, excited to dive into the project they had envisioned. They donned old clothes and gathered gardening tools, ready to tackle the overgrown yard. As they stepped outside, the fresh air filled their lungs, invigorating their spirits. The sun peeked through the clouds, casting a golden hue over the garden that seemed to beckon them closer. "Okay, team," Monica declared, brandishing a spade like a captain rallying her crew. "Let's start with the weeds. We'll clear the way for new life to grow." With laughter and playful banter, they began the task of clearing the garden. Each pulled weed and uprooted plant became a metaphor for their own emotional baggage, the things they had held onto for far too long. As they worked together, Monica felt the weight of regret and sadness lifting, replaced by a sense of hope and possibility. "Remember when we had that huge vegetable garden when I was little?" Emily asked, her hands busy pulling weeds. "I loved picking fresh tomatoes and cucumbers with you, Mom." "I do. And the salsa we made was the best," Monica replied, a nostalgic smile spreading across her face. "Those summer evenings spent in the kitchen, chopping and mixing. I cherish those memories." "I think we can make even better memories now," Mike chimed in, tossing a handful of weeds into a pile. "This is a fresh start for all of us." Hours passed as they cleared the garden, their conversations flowing as freely as the sunshine that bathed them. They shared their dreams, hopes, and fears, each confession pulling them closer together. The physical labor became a cathartic release, washing away years of misunderstandings and unspoken emotions. Eventually, they paused to catch their breath, surveying their progress. The garden, once choked by weeds, began to reveal patches of rich soil ready for planting. Monica's heart swelled with pride as she looked at her children, their faces flushed with exertion and happiness. "Let's take a break," Monica suggested, glancing at the sun climbing higher in the sky. "We deserve a little reward for all this hard work." Emily perked up, her eyes sparkling. "How about we make a picnic out here? We can eat some leftovers from breakfast." "That's a brilliant idea," Mike agreed, wiping sweat from his brow. "Let's set up a little spot right here on the grass." They spread out a blanket on the ground, and as they enjoyed their simple picnic, Monica reflected on how the day had transformed not just the garden but their relationships as well. Each bite of food tasted sweeter amidst the laughter and camaraderie. It felt as if the sun itself was celebrating their newfound connection. "Cheers to us," Emily exclaimed, raising her water bottle. "To new beginnings and the garden of reconnection." "To new beginnings," Mike echoed, raising his bottle as well. As they clinked their bottles together, a wave of warmth enveloped them. It was a moment of unity, of commitment to nurturing their bond, just as they would nurture the plants in their new garden. After their break, they returned to work with renewed vigor. Monica decided to plant the sunflowers first, inspired by Emily's earlier suggestion. As they dug the holes for the seeds, she explained the symbolism behind the flowers, how they always turned their heads toward the sun, a reminder to seek the light even in the darkest of times. "You know, Mom, I've always admired your resilience," Mike said, carefully placing the sunflower seeds into the holes. "You've faced so much, and yet you've kept moving forward." Monica felt tears prick her eyes at his words. "I didn't always feel strong, Mike. I often felt lost and alone. But your love has been my guiding light, even in my darkest days." Emily looked at her mother with newfound admiration. "We're here for you, Mom, just as you've always been there for us." With each seed they planted, Monica felt the bonds of love and understanding deepening, intertwining like the roots of the flowers they were nurturing. Each one was a promise to be present, to support each other, and to grow together as a family. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, they finally stepped back to admire their work. The once neglected garden was now a canvas of possibility, vibrant with hope. The sunflowers stood tall, their heads already beginning to turn toward the setting sun. "I can't wait to see how everything grows," Emily said, her eyes shining with excitement. "We'll have a beautiful garden in no time." "We'll come out here every weekend to care for it together," Monica replied, her heart swelling with joy. "It's not just a garden. It's a symbol of our renewed family bond." As the sky darkened and stars began to twinkle, they sat on the blanket, their hearts full and spirits high. In that moment, the past no longer felt like a burden. Instead, it became a foundation upon which they would build their future, a future filled with love, laughter, and connection. "Let's make a pact," Mike suggested, his voice steady. "No matter how busy life gets, we'll always make time for each other. Family dinners, gardening, whatever it takes." "I'm in," Emily said, nodding emphatically. "I want us to be closer than ever." Monica looked at her children, her heart overflowing with gratitude. "I promise to be more open and present, to share my thoughts and feelings with both of you. We're in this together." As they sealed their pact with laughter and hopeful promises, the night wrapped around them like a comforting embrace. In that moment, they were not just a mother and her children. They were a family, bound by love and a commitment to nurture each other just as they would their garden. With the stars shining brightly overhead, Monica felt a profound sense of peace settle within her. The storm of the past had given way to a new dawn, and as she looked at her children, she knew they were embarking on a beautiful journey of reconnection, a journey that would lead them to a future rich with love, understanding, and growth. The blossoming. The weeks that followed their transformative day in the garden were nothing short of extraordinary. Monica, Emily, and Mike had created a routine, a rhythm of togetherness that breathed new life into their relationships. Every Saturday morning, they gathered in the kitchen for breakfast before diving into their gardening projects. They laughed, shared stories, and celebrated the little victories of life together. Monica reveled in the energy of her children, who were now more open and willing to engage with her. It was as if a weight had lifted off her shoulders, and the house felt lighter, filled with laughter and warmth. The garden, too, was flourishing, bursting with color and life. Sunflowers reached for the sky, their golden heads nodding in the breeze, while tomatoes and peppers began to ripen, promising a bountiful harvest. One bright Saturday morning, Monica stood by the kitchen window, sipping her tea while watching the sun spill its golden light across the garden. The sight made her heart swell with pride and gratitude. She was reminded of how far they had come, a journey from feeling like an outsider in her own home to being an integral part of her children's lives once again. "Mom, do you want to help me pick some tomatoes today?" Emily called, her voice ringing from the backyard. "Of course. I'll be right there," Monica replied, her heart racing with excitement. The prospect of working alongside her daughter, sharing the fruits of their labor, brought back memories of simpler times. As Monica joined Emily in the garden, she felt a surge of joy. "Look at these beauties," Emily exclaimed, cradling a ripe red tomato in her hands. "I can't believe how much they've grown." "I know. It's incredible," Monica said, kneeling beside her daughter. "Let's pick some for a fresh salad later." While they harvested the tomatoes, Mike appeared, a wide-brimmed straw hat perched on his head. "I'm here to oversee the operation," he announced playfully, feigning seriousness. "What's the harvest report?" "Looking good, Captain," Emily said, tossing a tomato in Mike's direction. He caught it effortlessly, laughing. "Looks like we're in for a feast tonight." As they worked together, Monica felt a sense of peace envelop her, a feeling that had been missing for so long. She realized that this connection with her children was not just about the physical act of gardening, but about the emotional cultivation of their relationship. Each tomato they picked was a testament to their growth, not just in the garden, but in their lives together. With laughter echoing in the air, they gathered around the tables, sharing stories and enjoying the delicious food they had created together. Monica watched as her children engaged with their friends, their laughter ringing out like music. She felt a warmth spread through her heart, a reminder of the love and joy that had once filled their home. As the night deepened and the stars began to twinkle above, Monica stood quietly at the edge of the garden, taking in the beauty of the moment. She could hardly believe the transformation that had taken place, not just in the garden, but in her heart and her family. The years of estrangement were fading away, replaced by a renewed sense of connection and love. "Hey, Mom," Emily called, her voice cutting through the night. "Come join us. We're playing games." Monica smiled, feeling a rush of joy. "I'll be right there," she replied, knowing that this was where she belonged, right in the heart of her family. As the evening unfolded with laughter and games, Monica couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. The garden party had become a celebration of their renewed bond, a testament to their commitment to one another. In that moment, she realized that they were not just nurturing a garden. They were cultivating a home filled with love, laughter, and connection. And in that garden, amidst the flowers and the laughter, Monica felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had come home to herself, her children, and the beauty of what it meant to be a family. Seeds of change. As the summer faded into early autumn, the garden continued to flourish, much like the relationships within the family. With each passing day, Monica and her children found themselves becoming more attuned to each other's needs, hopes, and dreams. The healing process had set roots, and the garden served as a sanctuary for their blossoming connection. With the success of their garden party still fresh in their minds, Monica felt inspired to organize a community event, something that would not only celebrate their hard work, but also invite others to share in the joy of gardening and foster deeper connections within the neighborhood. She envisioned a harvest festival, where families could come together, enjoy the fruits of the season, and learn about the benefits of gardening. One Sunday morning, while sipping tea in the garden, Monica shared her idea with Emily and Mike. "What do you both think about hosting a harvest festival? It could be a way for us to give back to the community and share what we've learned about gardening," she proposed, her excitement bubbling over. Emily's eyes lit up. "That sounds amazing, Mom. We could set up booths with different activities, like a vegetable tasting station, planting demonstrations, and maybe even a cooking class featuring all our fresh produce. Mike nodded in agreement. We could invite local farmers and gardeners to participate as well. It would be a great way to support each other and strengthen our community bonds. Encouraged by their enthusiasm, Monica began planning the festival. They spent the next few weeks collaborating with neighbors, creating flyers, and spreading the word about the event. The air was thick with anticipation as the day approached. Monica felt a sense of purpose and excitement. This festival would not only highlight their collective efforts, but also bring people together in a celebration of community and growth. As the day of the Harvest Festival dawned, the sun shone brightly in the sky, casting a warm glow over the garden. Monica awoke early, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and nerves. She quickly brewed coffee and prepared breakfast, her mind swirling with thoughts about the day ahead. "Mom, you need to see this," Emily shouted from the window, her voice laced with excitement. Monica rushed to the window, her heart fluttering as she looked outside. The yard was filled with families, children running around and laughing, neighbors mingling, and setting up tables filled with homemade goodies. It was a scene of pure joy, a testament to the spirit of community that had come alive. As the festivities began, Monica welcomed each guest with open arms, her heart swelling with pride. The garden had transformed into a vibrant hub of activity. Children raced to the planting station, eager to get their hands dirty, while adults gathered around the tasting booth, sampling delicious recipes made from their homegrown produce. "Look at them. They're having so much fun," Mike exclaimed, grinning from ear to ear as he watched the laughter unfold around them. Emily chimed in, "I love seeing everyone come together like this. It feels so good to share what we've created." The festival continued to grow, attracting even more guests as word spread. Local farmers arrived, showcasing their fruits and vegetables, while community members shared stories of their gardening experiences. Monica felt a sense of pride in the atmosphere they had fostered, a blend of friendship, laughter, and the beauty of nature. In a quiet corner of the garden, Monica found herself deep in conversation with Mrs. Johnson, an elderly neighbor who had lived in the community for decades. "You know, Monica, I've always admired your dedication to gardening," Mrs. Johnson said, her eyes twinkling with warmth. "But it's not just the plants that have grown. It's the love and connection that you've nurtured within your family. It's beautiful to see." Monica smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. "Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. It hasn't always been easy, but I've realized that the real harvest comes from the relationships we cultivate. Gardening has brought us back together." As the day wore on, laughter echoed through the air, and the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the festival. Monica took a moment to step back and observe the beauty surrounding her. Her heart swelled as she saw her children interacting with their friends, sharing ideas, and learning from each other. It was a celebration of not just their garden, but the bonds they had forged through their shared experiences. As night fell and twinkling lights adorned the garden, Monica gathered everyone around for a toast. "Thank you all for being here today to celebrate the fruits of our labor and the beauty of community. May we continue to grow together, supporting one another in all our endeavors." Cheers erupted as glasses clinked, the sound ringing out like a melody in the cool evening air. For Monica, this moment was a culmination of everything she had fought for: reconnection with her children, community support, and a newfound purpose. She had not only sown seeds in the garden, but had also planted seeds of hope, love, and resilience in the hearts of everyone around her. As the festivities began to wind down, guests lingered, reluctant to leave the warm atmosphere they had created together. Emily approached Monica, her eyes shining with excitement. "Mom, we should do this every year. It's been such an incredible experience." "Absolutely. This is just the beginning," Monica replied, her heart brimming with joy. "We'll make this an annual tradition, one that grows just like our garden." Mike chimed in, "Let's keep the momentum going. We can have workshops, seasonal events, and even invite local schools to get involved. There's so much we can do." As they stood together under the twinkling lights, Monica felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. She had turned her home, once a place of isolation and neglect, into a thriving space of love, connection, and community. The garden had become a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even the deepest wounds could heal when nurtured with care, understanding, and love. That night, as Monica lay in bed, exhaustion washing over her, she reflected on the journey they had taken together. From feeling enslaved by the demands of her daughter to reclaiming her identity as a mother, the transformation was nothing short of miraculous. She had rediscovered herself, not just as a caregiver, but as a vital part of a loving family and community. In the quiet of the night, Monica made a promise to herself. She would continue to cultivate not just her garden, but also the relationships that mattered most. The past might have been fraught with pain, but the future was ripe with possibility. Together, they would sow seeds of change, nurturing love, understanding, and connection as they faced whatever challenges lay ahead. With a heart full of hope and gratitude, Monica closed her eyes, dreaming of the vibrant future that awaited them. A future where love blossomed, laughter echoed, and the beauty of their garden flourished alongside their family.